How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with a Game Week 3 deadline stream. It is early, I'm tired, and I hope Man United wins because otherwise I'm going to be miserable all weekend, and they have the first game of the day, which is going to be quite interesting because a lot of people have sold their FPL assets for Man United so that they've seen enough after 1 week, and yeah, should be quite interesting. So yeah, let's check out the team. So this is the team that we have. We made 2 transfers this week, and yeah, I feel pretty good about them. You know, brought Salah in, got him with the armband, feeling good about that. Podence in for St. Maximin, who was useless and should have never gone with him in the first place. So yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good. We had 69 points last week with -8, making it 61. 1.8 million game week rank, not terrible. 98 points overall, that's kind of bad. 3.7 million rank, that'll increase. We'll make sure of that. So we will make sure of that for sure. Let's take a little peek at the fixtures and how things kick us off today. There we go. So to start off, we have Brighton versus Manchester United. If you didn't see my predictions yesterday on the Game Week 3 preview, make sure to go check that out. It is over on YouTube. But I think that United need to win this game, otherwise they're in trouble. There's going to be a lot of people looking to sell. This is kind of an audition for some people in terms of positioning and how they are going to be as an FPL asset. So one thing that's, you know, a bit crucial is the positioning of Bruno Fernandes in particular. That's going to be, you know, key. It depends on if you know, if Van de Beek comes in, and it depends on if he's going to play the number 10 role, if he's going to play the Pogba role, and Pogba being in the double pivot, whereas Fernandes being more in the number 10 role. We'll have to see, because Donny van de Beek likes to get forward. I think it's better to play Donny van de Beek in the pivot and just tell him get forward as well. Hey Masudi, how's it going? Tempted to hit the wild card. What do you think? Oh my god, no, you can't hit the wild card now. Goodness me, no. Let's see what we got here. So you made a transfer from Aubameyang to KDB, but still not happy with the team. Okay, let's check it out. I'm gonna convince you. So you got Areola. He's got a fantastic fixture versus Aston Villa, who could barely score versus 10 men Sheffield United. And Fulham have decent fixtures in the next 3, I think. So Wolves, it could be a bit tough, but again, he might get some save points. Sheffield United are terrible. And then Crystal Palace don't score many, so I think Areola's fine. Trent Alexander-Arnold's fine. Kyle Walker-Peters is fine. Could be 2 clean sheets there potentially, because Arsenal don't really play you know, that, you know, aggressively, as it were, under Arteta. Mitchell is not the best for this week, but could be better. It's still fine though. I mean, he's up against Everton. He might get an attack in return. Who knows? We'll see. Played quite well, so he would probably be a weak point in the team. Salah. So we know what Liverpool does to Arsenal. Havertz scored a hat-trick midweek, and it's going to do quite well. KDB, very good. James Rodriguez, very good. Werner could destroy West Brom, and Mitrovic. I see nothing wrong with that team. I see nothing wrong with that team, City. I think you should keep it. I don't think you should wildcard. I think you should be patient. Just because people are bringing in Wolves players, just because people are tripling up on City on their wildcard, you don't really need to do all that. You got to play the game simple. The wildcard is a very valuable tool, and the longer you hang on to it, the more value it gets, because you're going to have an advantage potentially going later on into the season when you have more game weeks worth of data to bring in those gems and that sort of stuff. I would say like what I've been doing, managing hits here and there. So like next week I'm thinking about a -4, -8 for like Man City asset, which I don't have this week, which I'll just leave my team up on the screen while we're talking about it. But yeah. So yeah, I think Aubameyang to KDB, the team looks fine. Stick with the plan. Looks to be going good. Morning Pilot. Morning Mana. How's it going? Keep up the great work, growing all the time. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube. We hit 50 followers here on Twitch. We're doing good. And if you haven't done so, make sure to give us a follow. Make sure to subscribe. All that good stuff. You using OBS software? I am. I'm using Streamlabs OBS is the software that I use. Don't really have a preference. The only reason I use Streamlabs is because when I went to go start streaming, like just for Final Fantasy 14, just so I can record gameplay and stuff. This was the one of my raid mates just recommended, because he was like, yeah, I use that too. So I was like, okay, cool. And it looks a little bit nicer than the regular OBS, and it's better than XSplit, because XSplit is awful. Janks the man, how's it going? I've transferred Sterling in and captained him. I like it. I think it's good. I think a lot of people are underestimating Sterling and his ownership and how good he can actually be. People are acting like last week he didn't get a return. He did. He got an assist. So again, still something that people need to realize, that he can score a lot, and I think that especially with the Man City news. So Gabriel Jesus came out on Twitter saying, "I'll be back," with like a fist bump and like a strong arm emoji. So, and he's going to be injured. Aguero's injured, and Pep mentioned like 12. He said like 12 or 13 first team players. So if you run through it, he probably has 2 goalkeepers. Garcia, Ake, Stones, Benjamin Mendy, Kyle Walker, De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Rodri. That's 10. Sterling, Morris, Foden. That's your 13 right there. Because there's no Zinchenko, he's still after the international break. No Cancelo, no Bernardo Silva, same thing. Aguero's 1 to 2 months. Jesus seems to be like a couple of weeks. And then he's got, reserves or academy players. So Hazard FC. Good day, Pilot. Good day, Hazard FC. Feeling good about this game week? I am. Except for Kevin De Bruyne. That's the only one. However, De Bruyne did come off. He did come off. After the game, he had a bit of a knock to the head. I didn't see the game personally. I only saw the news. But I think he'll be fine. He was able to play on afterwards. It's not like Pep said there was a bit of distortion, so I guess it was like, oh, my head hurts, like type of thing. Like I got a whack in the head, but it's fine. Not like, what year is it? Where am I? What's my name? Why am I wearing a Man City shirt? He wasn't completely out of it, So he's the player that I worry about. Same with Sterling, but Sterling's low owned, so at the end of the day, Salah's the same ownership as De Bruyne or thereabouts. Let's actually double check that. De Bruyne is 42.5%, so he is a little bit higher than Salah, who's 37.7. A lot of people potentially have both, but I'm just hoping that Fernandes can match him as he did quite well versus Brighton. Um, but yeah, should be fine. Okay, I'm convinced. So how about captain? I have it on Werner, but something tells me KDB. What do you think? A lot of people have KDB, Salah, and Werner. I think in terms of captaincy, in terms of like the who's going to do what, I think you have to position KDB and Salah higher than Werner, and my reasoning for that is yes, they're playing stronger teams, but they're midfielders. So at the end of the day, Salah, KDB get a goal, assist, and potentially like one bonus point. They're looking at 8 points with the captaincy at 16, whereas Werner needs to get a goal and an assist just to be slightly ahead of that. So can Werner score 3 versus West Brom? Of course he could. West Brom suck. But can Salah score, a few against Arsenal? Yeah, because Arsenal defense isn't as good as what people think it is. The numbers say that they should be conceding more goals than what they are. Also, David Luiz likes giving away penalties, and he's back fully fit. So, and we know who's on penalties. It's Mohamed Salah. So, Leicester also don't have Ndidi, so that favors City. But I think that Salah and Kevin De Bruyne are both good captaincy options this week. And I think that I'm going with Salah because I don't have De Bruyne, and then I would say Werner is the next best option. So I think Salah, in my opinion, if I had De Bruyne, I would say probably De Bruyne, but I think Salah. Mono says McCarthy, TA, Doherty, Kyle Walker-Peters, Mitchell. So that's a back 4. Salah, KDB, Son, Werner, DCL, Adams took no hit. Wondering if I should make any transfers and who to captain. Depends on how much money you have in the bank, and it depends on who's on your bench. Because basically the only person that I would say you would think about looking at changing in for somebody would potentially be your 5th midfielder in for Mitchell, but I don't know how much money you have in the bank. And in terms of captaincy, like I said, you could pick. I would say pick between Salah and KDB. I'm going with Salah personally. Even if I had KDB, I'd probably still pick him. I'd still pick Salah, but that's just me. Janks the man, McCarthy, TA, Justin, Lascelles. Ooh, a Justin owner. Mitchell, Saliba, Son, Sterling, Souček, Basuma, and Mitro. Well, Basuma's out with a red card. So that's not good. So you need 4 midfielders there. TA, Justin, Lascelles can definitely play because Saliba's probably not going to play. And Mitchell is against Everton, so that's not good. Mitro, Werner, Ings. Got 1 free transfer, 0.4 million in the bank. I personally would get rid of Saliba. I don't know how much he's gone down till. I would get in. So this week Lamptey is against Man United, but he's a good option. Another thing that's potentially, a lot of people have been, we're getting rid of him and that sort of stuff, was Vinagre from Wolves. So Marcel or Markel or whatever his name is out with a calf problem. So he could be an astute pick for a week or two. You already have Kyle Walker-Peters, I believe. Kyle Walker-Peters could be a good option. I mean, it doesn't have. You don't have to worry about cover, in a sense. Because you have Ings who's done quite well. You have Mitrovic who's been doing well. You have Werner. Who knows? Like, it could be a dull 1-0 between Crystal Palace and Everton. I think Everton will do a lot more than that, but in terms of like ownership for Calvert-Lewin, he's 27.8% owned, which is quite high, and James is 25, so they are high. But if you could, I would say probably fix something with Saliba potentially, because Lascelles isn't great this week. Mitchell isn't great because he's versus Everton as well. Salasson, Sterling, and Soucek are all perfectly fine. Basuma being injured is a bit of a problem, or being on a red is a problem because he's not going to play this game, but he'll be back for the next Premier League game, so you'll at least have him on the bench for that. One thing that you could potentially do also is actually no, you don't have enough. I was going to say go from Basuma to a 5 million, another 5 million potentially, but actually there's not many great options there. But I'm just trying to think. I mean, I wouldn't say get rid of Son, Sterling, or Salah. They're all pretty good. Yeah, the only thing I would think would probably be Saliba, would be my thinking. That would be my only thinking, just because even if he did play, he's like, the fixtures aren't great, so that would probably be my only issue there. That would be my only issue there. And I understand the worry about Everton cover. I mean, you could potentially just bite the bullet and just play. Wait, so you have 3 forwards. Yeah, you just play. Well, you could just play 3-4-3. You could play TAA, Justin, and then a defender. Son, Sterling, Salah, Soucek, Mitchell, Werner, Ings. So yeah, just all you have to do is fix the defender. Actually, let's go take a look. So Saliba's currently 4.3, which means that you can only get somebody who's 4.5, 4.6, or 4.7 if you wanted to. So I'm just going to take a look at the defenders off on the side here. And you have Justin already. Konsa from Aston Villa is not bad. Not a bad shout. Their fixtures are not great in the interim, but again, it's just a 1 week fix potentially. And then you can go from there. Like I said, Lamptey is good. He's it's not a great fixture this week, and Everton away is not great next week, but he's Crystal Palace away, West Brom at home, Spurs away, Burnley at home, Aston Villa away. So he could be astute there, and he's probably going to go up in price because he's been quite good. A Dunn is another one that in the interim is someone that you could bring in, which could free up some more money. So you have 0.4 in the bank. If you get rid of Saliba, get you another 0.3. You can take that 0.7 and then use it for somebody else. Just going back to your team, you could potentially potentially use it to upgrade Mitrovic. You could potentially use it to upgrade maybe Justin even potentially, or Lascelles. How much is Lascelles? Lascelles is 4.5. So yeah, you could take out Saliba, put in Dunn this week, just because Dunn's probably going to play, because me and Tarkowski are most likely going to be out, and Dunn played quite well. And typically Sean Dyche, when it comes to like 50-50s, like this person's going to be injured or not, he doesn't play them. So he's a 4 million that you can put in. Burnley have Southampton this week. So yeah, you'll have a conflict of interest in terms of like your strikers versus your defender. But it's only for 1 game week. Burnley are quite astute defensively. He scored, so he's shown that he's good on set pieces, which is exactly what Burnley want. And then what you can do next week is you can then potentially, if you don't wildcard, if you still have that, you can use that extra bit to bolster up elsewhere. So you can take the 0.7 that you would have, and you could put it into um, other players. Maybe you could take a hit. You could drop Ings if Ings doesn't perform versus Burnley, which would get you a clean sheet, which would be nice for you. You could potentially take him out, put Calvert-Lewin in. That would get, then you'd have like 1 point something, close to 2 million. You could then upgrade Souček to Souček's what, 5. You could upgrade Souček to like a 6 point something midfielder, so maybe like Pereira or something like that. Or you can upgrade Basuma to the likes of like Podence from Wolves. You could go from Ings to Jimenez. There's a bunch of different things you could do. You could upgrade Lascelles to, if you had enough, to go to Semedo, who's coming at Wolves. You can get Roman Saiss, who would be a good defender. And then basically every week you could just play Justin, TAA, and your new defender, basically. And then you would have Mitchell and Dunn as your 4 million defenders on your bench. So that's what I think I would do, me personally. Just because if you're, I think that's manageable because the rest of the team looks fine. McCarthy's fine. Although he hasn't gotten any clean sheets. TA is good. Justin's good. Lascelles is decent for the time being, although he doesn't have a great fixture this week. Mitchell's good. Saliba's a bit of a problem. Salah's good. Son's good. Sterling's good. Souček's serviceable. Basuma's fine because he's only going to miss this one Premier League week because he his 3-game suspension was Carabao Cup in midweek, this game versus United in Gameweek 3, and then they play, funnily enough, Brighton play United again midweek next week. That'll be his 3-game suspension, and then he'll be back for whoever they play next. And then you have, Ings, Mitrovic, Werner look fine to me. If Werner doesn't do well, you could potentially go for, -4. You could drop Werner down to Jimenez, who's, got great fixtures. And then you can upgrade that way. Or you can potentially just bite the bullet and just play Mitchell. And then you can go 2 free transfers next week, getting rid of Saliba and whoever else is a problem, and then go from there. Because you could free up a lot of money if Werner doesn't do well. You could bring in Calvert-Lewin, that gets you like 2 million or so. And then you can upgrade Saliba to like a very good defender. So you can even go with the 5 million, go with Reece James, you can go with Saiss, you can go with Semedo, and then you could just never have to worry about defense. You could just play Trent, you could play Justin, you could play that new bolstered defender just week in, week out, and then you still have a good front line because you still have Calvert-Lewin, you still have Mitrovic, you still have Ings, and your midfield pretty much picks itself. Souček is going to get the odd goal here or there, so I think it's good. But yeah, City are riddled with injuries, unfortunately for them. Gabriel Jesus is out, Aguero is out. Oh, Gundogan, I forgot him too. He's out because he's still in quarantine. So they do have a lot of injuries that they have to worry about, and I think that we could see a much changed City approach today. They're going to go with a false 9 almost certainly with Sterling up front. I would find it hard pressed not to see Mahrez, Foden, Sterling as the front 3 with De Bruyne, Rodri, and Fernandinho, and then some type of back 4, and then whoever else they have youngster wise on the bench. So I'm actually going to bring up on my second monitor here the what team that they had midweek. So 3rd round EFL Cup versus Bournemouth. So the team that they put out was one of their backup goalkeepers, Kyle Walker, 2 two youngsters, one at center back, one at left back. They had Garcia, who is technically a fit squad member, but he's like looking to get a move away from the club. Doyle, Rodri, Foden, Mahrez. Ferran Torres, he could potentially play as well. But I think he might hold him back as a bench option, potentially. And then they had this kid Delap, who played. So we'll have to see. We will definitely have to see as to what they could be going with. I don't expect Pep to start any like youngsters. Now that I've seen like Jesus being out, if I could redo Pep Roulette this week's edition, I would say Ederson in goal, Walker right back, Mendy left back, Stones and Ake at center back. Maybe Garcia comes in at right back. And then Roger and Fernandinho as the holding midfielders, De Bruyne in the 10. Sterling at false 9. Foden wide left, and Mahrez out on the right. That's what I would go with. So getting back to the fixtures here. So as we mentioned, United have the first fixture versus Brighton. I think they'll definitely bounce back. And if they don't, there's going to be a lot of people selling their players, much like myself. I think that it's kind of an audition. Because if I see Bruno Fernandes playing in a deep role, then he could be gone. I think that with the introduction of Donny van de Beek into the team, he's been playing a bit more reserved. And that's not what we want. We want Bruno Fernandes getting in the box and scoring. We don't want him, sitting back doing nothing. We want him getting involved, getting in the box, United winning penalties, him scoring them. But he also talked about him potentially giving it to Rashford if he feels confident. So United get a penalty and I see Rashford on it, and we're 1-0 down. I'm gonna be a bit upset because I'll be a lot more confident if Bruno is taking the penalty. If I was an owner and if I was a United fan, period. If you're rooting for Brighton because you have Lamptey in your team, then yeah, sure, you want Rashford to take that penalty. You want somebody else that's not Bruno because Bruno just scores all of them. So, but yeah, should be interesting. Then we have Crystal Palace versus Everton. I think Palace won't get completely obliterated. Like that's not Roy Hodgson's style. I can see them holding out and being quite defensive, trying to threat on the counter. I think Everton might concede one, probably will concede one, but I think they should be able to score at least a couple. Because James is good, Alan Decore are good, DCL's good, Richarlison's good. Like they've all been playing quite well. Richarlison's been unlucky not to score. So, like, we could easily see an Everton 2-0 scoreline where we have like a Decore goal assist and like a Richarlison like goal or something like that. It definitely could happen, and then you're looking at James and DCL where they don't end up with any points. It's very possible. Yeah, the people with Richarlison will get it, but he's lower earned. So But again, Crystal Palace have started off bright. But I think that Crystal Palace, it's a bit weird because Zaha's playing well. And typically when the transfer window is open, Zaha plays well because he wants to get away from Crystal Palace. As much as people say that he's staying at the club and all that stuff because he has the armband and all that. Yeah, no. He's trying to play to get some type of move away. He always does. And then when the second the window closes, Crystal Palace play like crap. Zaha gets injured and doesn't play well. So, again, it's just one of those things. But I think Everton should do well. As for West Brom versus Chelsea, this could be any scoreline from 3-0 on up, in my opinion. West Brom conceded 5. They lost their heads versus Everton. You know, I think they're a team that's destined for relegation. It's just going to be whether it's them or Fulham. But I think Fulham have a bit more defensive structure about them. And I think that with that structure comes organization, and sometimes organization can, get you over the line. If you don't have like Slaven Bilic has always been a team that can set up an attack, but not really a defense. Whereas Scott Parker seems to have, some sense of how his team should be playing. Fulham did concede 4 versus Leeds, but again, Bamford's goal was really well taken. Costa's goal, one of them was unstoppable. Doesn't matter who you put in goal. So like even Bielsa came out afterwards and was like, yeah, we're scoring all the chances that we get. That's bad because we should be creating more chances. Like, just like as a statistic, Bamford has scored 2 goals so far. His XG, which is his expected goals from those 2 shots that he took, was 0.14. So even if he did that, like 6 to 7 times more, he should only score 1 goal when taking those same shots. So it's a bit of an interesting one. So, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, so West Brom and Chelsea, that could be any scoreline. 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2. Chelsea are probably going to score a lot. Werner's probably going to be among them. Whether he gets more than 1, we'll have to see. I think it's important that if they get a penalty, that Werner takes it. So we'll have to see on that front. As to who takes the penalty, I think he should definitely be taking it for sure, because Jorginho's recently missed his. So I want to think that, Werner being the striker, as it were, should be scoring. I think he should be scoring. He should be looking to go for the golden boot. And I think that penalties are a big part of that. Jamie Vardy doesn't shy away from a penalty. Salah is kind of the striker at Liverpool. He takes them. I would be happy with him, Mane, or Firmino taking them. If I was, Jurgen Klopp. Technically, it should be Firmino because he's the, number 9, as it were. But again, he's not really that type of like out-and-out goal scorer, so I can understand that. He kind of plays more as like a central midfielder. Raul Jimenez takes him. He's the striker at Wolves. Fernandes takes it at United, but I think that's just because the rest of our penalty takers are bad, and he's very good at them. Also, you can say your captain can take them too. That's kind of an exception. I kind of see Bruno as a captain for United, but that's a bit of a different discussion. Arsenal, Aubameyang's the captain, and he's technically their main guy, so he should take them as well. And I think that should be the same for Chelsea. It's interesting because I want to see who gets a penalty for Everton. Who gets to take it for Everton, because that would be interesting to see in terms of who takes it, whether it's Calvert-Lewin, whether it's, James Rodriguez. So we'll have to see on that front. Burnley versus Southampton. Now this is a bit of a tricky one because Burnley, started off, not too good, conceding 4, have a bunch of injury problems. Their center backs are a big part of how they play. And I think that with Burnley, their system is a lot more complex than people think. They funnel shots in towards Pope. And that's a big part of how Tarkowski and Ben Mee play. And if both of them are out, again, they're going to be a lot weaker defensively. Southampton have been unlucky not to score more, specifically Che Adams. Danny Ings has had his few chances too. And I think they could cause Burnley problems because even if they play a high line, Chris Wood's not going to get it behind. Vidra's not going to get it behind. They're too slow. So Southampton are going to get away with a lot in this game. And I think Southampton should be able to win this game comfortably because they'll create chances and score. Sheffield United and Leeds. This one's a bit tougher to call. Because my head thinks that, Sheffield United should be able to hold up defensively. But I can't just ignore the fact that Leeds have scored 3 versus Liverpool, 4 versus Fulham, and Sheffield United's defense has looked a lot weaker. And especially with Egan, getting a red card, that's a problem for them. He's one of their main defenders, and they've looked weak defensively. So I think Leeds could definitely cause all sorts of problems. Spurs versus Newcastle. I think this is going to be a bit of a rough one for Newcastle. St. Maximin could be out or not fully fit. You saw what happened when a team, got off on the front foot, which Spurs can definitely do. Or Spurs may play as like the away team, let Newcastle have the ball, give them a little bit of confidence, and then hit them on the break. And then once Newcastle got on 1-0, it's pretty much over. I don't see them ever coming back from a lead. Newcastle need to be the first team to score here to even have a chance. Man City versus Leicester. Again, Ndidi's out. Evans is back, but I think Ndidi's such an integral part of the way they play. And Man City versus teams in the, like the top 6. So like our teams that vie for the top 6. So like Leicester, Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, these sorts of teams. Man City has a very high XG stat typically versus them. Also, they create, I think there was a stat that the Scoutcast or somebody put, I think it was maybe FPL Black Box. Both are fantastic podcast / weekly videos that you guys can watch. For those 2 respective channels, doing quite good. Also, the FPL Wire is very good as well. They said that like City's like chance creation is like double Liverpool's or something stupid, which is crazy to think about when you think, well, it's Liverpool, they're super attacking, and it's just a bit of a weird one. How many chances City can actually create and not beat teams just like 10-0 every game. Because that's what they should be doing, really. They should be beating everyone like 10-0 because of the amount of chances that they create. And I think that KDB is a big part of that. I think Sterling's a big part of that. I think that there's whoever's playing in the the striker, so Aguero or Jesus is a big part of that. Obviously, they're going to be out without both those players this week, but could be interesting. Whom to captain, Werner, Salah, or KDB? Right now on Werner. I think Werner is a perfectly good option. My argument was that I have only Salah and Werner, and I think it's a no contest between those two because I think yes, Salah has arguably a tougher fixture, but he's at home. Salah at home. If that was any other team, other than a top six team for Salah at home, people wouldn't even bat an eye. They wouldn't even think twice. Just armband on Salah, go. You know. Werner has looked good. West Brom are bad, and I think that Chelsea could score quite a few. The only thing is that Werner has to do more than Salah in order to match like his points. So, just like a quick calculation, let's say Salah gets 1 bonus point, a goal, and a clean sheet versus Arsenal. That's not unrealistic to think about. So he gets 5 points for the goal, 3 points for playing past 60 minutes and getting a clean sheet. That's 8 points. So with a captaincy, that's 16. Whereas Werner, if he gets a goal and maybe like a bonus point or 2, he needs to get 2 bonus points just to match that. And with 1 goal, could be tricky if they score 2 or 3, right? Unless he scores them, in which case then you're sitting pretty. And Liverpool's track record versus Arsenal at home during this Premier League season has been, extremely good. Extremely, extremely good. So I think that's something that we have to consider. The De Bruyne argument, he is the main man. I think if anyone is going to be, producing a ridiculously monstrous score, it could be De Bruyne this week, or Sterling. I'd probably say more Sterling, because if Sterling's playing false 9 and De Bruyne is just feeding him passes all day, Sterling's going to be taken down for penalties. He's going to be scoring. He's going to be in and around the box. But I think the problem with City is when they do play this false 9 system, is that when Sterling does play, in that role, he has to drop off and do link-up play, which he's not fantastic at. He's decent, serviceable, but not excellent at like Aguero or like Jesus are. And City's not the type of team to just lump the ball past the back line. But I think that De Bruyne could be getting assist after assist after assist today. Like, you could see a hat-trick of assists from De Bruyne in a 3-0 win today. No problem. And him getting 3 bonus points. So if that's a 3-0 win versus Leicester, that's 3 points for playing past 60 in the clean sheet. 3 assists, that's 9 points. That's 12. 3 bonus points, that's 15. You're looking at a good captaincy there. But De Bruyne could easily just create a lot of chances, and then Leicester stifle Man City defensively because they have looked decent in the opening too. Mind you, their opponents have kind of flattered them a little bit. So, not really great on, in terms of Leicester's overall game. But I think that Castagne's come in and looked quite good. Justin's looked, very good, at least attacking wise. So could potentially pose some threat to City. City will only have a plan A this week. They won't have a plan B. There will be no, we could swap Aguero for Jesus. Well, they both aren't playing. Their only real option off the bench is academy players. Players who have played very little minutes for City, just period. Or Ferran Torres, if he doesn't start. So, could be a bit tricky. But if City get off on the right start, which we know they can, they scored 3 versus Wolves. And Wolves are considered arguably the best defense in the league. We can see City, easily, blasting Leicester. With relative ease. It just depends on how they set up, how they go about the game. They are at home, so that's kind of an advantage for them. And it should be an interesting one to watch. But I think that all 3 captains will do well this week. I think Salah will score. I think KDB will get points. I think Werner will score. It's just a matter of who's going to get the most. So I don't think there's necessarily a wrong captain this week out of those 3. It's just a matter of who's going to score more. Because obviously at the end of the day, you want to, if KDB gets 20 points, without the captaincy, Salah gets 6, and Werner gets 6, then you would want it on KDB if you had all 3, because you want to be able to double the biggest amount of points. But I think there's you'll get the captaincy right no matter which one you choose. I think all 3 of those guys will have potential to get points. So I don't think there's really a wrong answer. It's just a matter of who can we nail down as the, the big scorer. But I think the stats show that Salah could be very good versus Arsenal. KDB, City looked like they hadn't even broke stride versus Wolves. And all the stats show that Werner's on the goals imminent table. Havertz scored a hat-trick in midweek, so he could be, finally in a position where he's looking good. And West Brom are terrible, so we'll have to see on that front. West Ham versus Wolves. I think West Ham could be in some serious trouble because game week 1, losing to Newcastle, not ideal. You losing to Arsenal, late winner. Now they got to play Wolves, who just recently signed Semedo. Gonna, allow Traore to go forward. And there's not many people in the league that can stop Traore 1v1, let alone 2v1. Then they have Leicester, who will, at home, apply a lot of pressure. And, cause the West Ham backline significant problems. Also, they have, in this game week, they have David Moyes apparently coaching the team from isolation. So that should be interesting to see how that pans out. Then they have Spurs away from home. Again, a London rivalry there. Could be interesting. I think Jose Mourinho would definitely want to win that. He'll see it as a big game. Then West Ham have City. Not ideal there. Then they have Liverpool again. Not ideal there. And then they have Fulham, which, they should be able to, get something over in Sheffield United. And then Aston Villa. So their run gets a little bit better from 8 onwards, but they have a very, very tough road ahead of them that's only just started. And could be quite tricky overall. Fulham versus Villa. Like I mentioned before, that's going to be a tougher one to call. It's playing quite early, actually. It's 1:15 my time, which is 12:15. Oh no, that's a 4:15 kickoff. That's a bit of a weird one for the UK. 4:15, 5:15, something like that. Bit of a weird kickoff time, personally. But yeah, I think this is one that could be in the balance. I'd be interested to see what the odds are. I would assume Villa probably has a slight favorite over Fulham, just because they've been in the Premier League an extra year. So could be interesting. And then Liverpool versus Arsenal at home. A lot of people looked into what the odds makers are saying for in terms of like goal scorers this week, for a goal scorer to score at any time. Werner is like 55%, I think, where Salah's 54%. So you're thinking, how is Salah only 1% behind Werner when he's playing a way better team? Chelsea could be potentially playing the team that comes 20th this season, whereas Liverpool could be playing a team that comes anywhere from 8th to, you could even say 1st, potentially. Highly unlikely, but still possible. And I think that, yeah, the bookies clearly know something that we don't. That's why I have my captaincy on Salah. Because Salah is one that can do damage to Arsenal and historically has done. And I think that he could be potentially the best captaincy shout, even if you had De Bruyne, even if you or have De Bruyne, even if you have Werner like I do as well. I just think Salah midfielders are so good. Like even this week, I would potentially, depending on where Fernandes, if I knew like United's lineup beforehand, and I saw that like Fernandes was playing, in the number 10 role, I would say I would probably even potentially look to captain him over Werner. Now that's a bit of a stretch potentially, and I'd have to think about it probably a little bit more. But on an initial thought, midfielder, United could potentially get a penalty. Basuma's out. They sold Dale Stevens, so they, the middle of their park is a bit barren. So we'll have to see. We will have to see on that front. So, but yeah, pretty confident going into this week. McCarthy versus Burnley. Hopefully that's a nice 1-0 to Southampton. Maybe Che Adams gets his goal, maybe Ings gets it, but I would like a clean sheet finally from Southampton, and a better performance really, just overall, because the Spurs performance wasn't great at all. Robertson and Trent have already exceeded expectations thus far. So if you look at Trent's first 2 games, he got 1 point and 7 points. So it's basically like he conceded in both games, but got an assist in both games. So if you have a 7 million midfielder who's gotten you assists in both games, you're probably thinking fantastic, lovely stuff. Robertson's got us 5 points average across the 2 games, so you're thinking that's an assist with maybe an extra point. So that's looking quite good. Doherty is unlucky not to have scored already or potentially get a return. Would like to see more from him this week. He could potentially be on his way out, potentially for the likes of Nelson Semedo from Wolves, or Roman Saiss, or Reece James, somebody of that nature. Also, Edouard Mendy was signed for Chelsea now, and he's not going to be in this week because Lampard came out in his press conference saying that he flew in yesterday being the Thursday when he was speaking about this, so he didn't want to just be like, oh, off the plane, into the interviews, into the taking the pictures, into playing right away. So could be interesting there. So definitely would bolster Reece James's clean sheet potential. Especially if Reece James starts this week, you got to be thinking, is Azpilicueta the backup now? Now that's potentially possible, but he is the club captain at the moment. He provides stability. He doesn't necessarily get forward as much. Probably better defensively than Reece James. And if they're going to play Chilwell and Reece James, it's going to be a lot of attackers. So you're going to have, like, when a fully fit Chelsea squad's out there, you have James and Chilwell going forward. You have Kovacic potentially pressing forward a little bit. You have Havertz going forward, Pulisic going forward, Ziyech going forward, Werner going forward, all these players going forward. Can Conte and the 2 center backs, provide enough stability? And I think they can. Last ditch question: Werner or KDB for the armband? Okay, so if I had to pick between the 2, I would pick Kevin De Bruyne. Not even a question. They don't have Ndidi, who's arguably their best player in terms of just like stability. Leicester are a team that every time they play against one of the bigger teams, so whether it be United, Liverpool, City, they don't do nearly as well. They don't have Pereira, who's going to be out till even longer now. So James Justin is looking more and more astute. He could potentially get an attacking return versus City, but again, it's not something you can rely on. But yeah, I think KDB just looked a different animal, especially if they're going to play Rodri and Fernandinho behind him, which they most likely are. And KDB, so I put the vice captaincy on Werner, 100% put it on Werner, if those are the two you're picking from. And my reasoning for that is because KDB is either going to be one of two things. He's either going to be one, in the team, no problems, he doesn't have concussion, that sort of stuff, from midweek. Or two, he has to undergo concussion protocol and he's not going to be in the team at all. There's going to probably be no KDB on the bench getting subbed on, unless there's too good of a team to either you have to play him or you're not playing him. So if he has to undergo concussion protocol, he can't be in the lineup at all, which means that you'll definitely get whoever your vice captaincy is, and in that case it'll be Werner. So I would say if you're going to pick those two, I would say, my opinion, captaincy on KDB because I think he's a better pick. And if KDB doesn't play because he has to go through, like I said, the concussion protocol, it will definitely swap to Werner because he's either going to be in the team starting, playing the full 90, or he's going to be out of the team. I say in the team playing for the full 90, but if for whatever reason, injuries and that sort of stuff can, crop up, or a late substitution to, 85 minutes if City's up 3-0. They don't need him on the pitch, really. Give a chance for a youngster or give a little run out. But yeah, overall, like I said, I don't think there's any wrong decision for Salah versus Werner versus KDB in terms of who's going to score. I think all three of them, if they start, which they should all start, assuming, like I said, KDB doesn't have concussion, they're all going to get points. It's just how many points. And I think that you have to look at it that knowing that you're going to have a player that's going to score some points for your team with the armband on is a good feeling. And I think all three of them should be capable of scoring with relative ease. People will say, oh, well, Arsenal have beaten Liverpool the last couple of times they played. One of them was the Community Shield. Not really too much going on there. Personally, I think it's just more for a warm-up. And the previous game before that, Liverpool had already won the league, so it didn't really matter. They could have played Klopp could have literally played his reserves from the start of restart to the end of the season, and they still would have had enough points to beat Man City. And thank you, John Wick, for stopping by. Best of luck to you as well. Hopefully, everyone's any last minute changes that they are making, make sure that your lineups are set and are ready to go. I'm just going to refresh my team just to be sure that I have everything in order here. So just a final look at the team. We have McCarthy in goal. We have Trent Alexander-Arnold, Doherty, and Robertson. In our back three, we have Rodriguez, Fernandez, vice captain, Salah captain, Podence as... Actually, we'll put Werner as the vice captain just in case, because we know he's going to play. And we'll save that. So again, just going to refresh it just to be sure. That looks a little bit better. So McCarthy in goal, Trent, Doherty, Robertson, James Rodriguez, Fernandez, Salah captain, Podence, Calvert-Lewin, Mitrovic, and Werner vice captain, with Burke, Mitchell, Ferguson on the bench in that order. We know Steer's not going to play, and I wouldn't want to play him versus Mitrovic anyway, even if he was considered to be the starting goalkeeper. So make sure you double check, triple check your team. Make sure your bench is in order. That's an important thing that people overlook. Mine's pretty straightforward. It's just put Burke and then Mitchell and Ferguson in any order. It doesn't really matter. But make sure your bench is in order. Make sure your captaincy's in order. Make sure your vice captaincy's in order. Make sure you hit save. And yeah, we got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam! That should be the deadline there. As we always do, as tradition, we keep hitting refresh on the Fantasy Premier League page until it breaks, which it should do in quite a few seconds here. Well, apparently it hasn't broken yet, but it should do very shortly. Guess we get an extra bit of tinkering. I saw that the page was up last week for some people, like just staying up past the deadline, which is weird. But anyway, we shall see. Yeah, I guess it's just gonna stay up, but whatever. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna touch anything. That's my team. Ain't gonna touch anything there. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the Gameweek 3 deadline. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, give us a follow on all the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, all that good stuff. You guys know what the drill is. Give us a follow over on Twitter. I've been putting out these little bulletins so that you can see what content is coming out this week. And it's going to be important because the Game Week preview is going to be Monday this week. It's not going to be on Fridays. I want to do it on Mondays now, just because it makes it better for scheduling on my end. And it allows us to get like almost immediate reaction after seeing the games on Monday. So Liverpool is going to be an interesting one versus Arsenal. But it's going to be the same time, 7 p.m. EDT. I'll put a pinned comment in this video when it goes up on YouTube. So yeah, the next stream will be Monday of this week coming. So Monday being I'll just double check that. So Monday, the 28th of September. That is going to be when we stream next, 7 p.m. EDT. That's going to be our preview like we usually do on Fridays. That's now going to be moved to Mondays, and then we'll have the videos Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday instead. And what I might end up doing is a lineup video on Fridays potentially, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And then we'll do the deadline streams as normal. So thank you all for watching. And until the next one, have a good game week and take care.